This is That Dope Dad Podcast. Real talk, real growth, real fatherhood. No fake motivation, no perfect dads, just real conversations about becoming better men, husbands, and fathers. That Dope Dad Podcast starts now with your host, Michael Hedgecock.
21 minutes later.
For real, dude. That is fatherhood right there, man. Just fumbling your way through it until you get it figured out.
Absolutely. Oh man, I keep planning these podcasts at 5, well, for East Coast or Midwest. And last week it was like perfect weather. Like 75-ish. This week it's like 90s.
Oh, dude, it's 100
in
here.
Our office. And is it? Well, you guys have AC out there, right?
What do you mean you guys have AC? You don't have air conditioning?
Well, we have AC, but a lot of homes out here don't have air conditioning because we stay between like 70 and 80, and we don't really need AC.
Brother,
we can get those units that we hook up to the windows. It's just comfortable weather, and then we'll get, it's not enough to get AC because we'll get heat waves like for a week, like 90s to 100, but it's not like St. Louis or Missouri.
Right.
My cousin lives out there, so I hear all about it. So
where's he live at?
Yeah, so St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay. Yeah, so they're about 3 hours from us.
Okay, yeah. So I've been out there a few times, like it. It's pretty nice. But
not right now, bro.
Yeah,
dude, it's hot. Dude, it's hot.
Well, yeah. It gets so hot in our office, and I'm just going to work out. So I'm just going to sweat during this podcast. So I'm not going to shower, not get ready. But
hey, so tell me real quick, the speaker coming through for you is the same speaker it was earlier. It's coming through my mic, or is it coming through my camera?
Your voice?
Yeah. It's
coming through your mic.
You're getting it through the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can hear you through my headphones. I cannot hear myself through my headphones.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, I obviously hear myself.
Well, I don't hear myself through my headphones. Well, actually, I do. Never mind. My bad. Yeah. You're trying to process more.
I don't want to mess it up. Like, if it's working and you can hear me clearly, and it's not like camera audio, it's through the mic. So, like
it's through the mic.
It's through the mic.
It's through the mic.
All right, cool.
Yeah. You can tell it's a mic voice.
Okay, good.
Well, we got a lot to learn still, I guess, with this podcasting.
That's the goal of this podcast, right, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's every single one I learn something new. I'm just like, oh my God. But yeah, how's your day been going? What's your day been like?
So real estate is always an adventure. Some days it's really dull and quiet and you've got nothing to worry about. And it's, you got the freedom to kind of invest in other projects. And then other days it's like just nonstop chaos. You've got a listing an hour away. And so you got to go pick up a sign and a lockbox and then drive back. And so sometimes you're in the car talking to yourself, listening to music, making phone calls, trying to make the day of it. Sometimes it's just nothing but unexpected chaos at the most inconvenient times, which, that's life. But, today was just that. I was gracious enough to make it to the gym. Had a really incredible breakfast with a guy this morning who is just crushing it in his industry and was just wanted to talk about future business stuff while trying to be in the room with someone that was pursuing the same stuff that he was through moral and ethical values while trying to get bread and take care of your family.
Yeah. How long have you been doing real estate?
This will be year number 6.
Do you just do commercial?
I do commercial and residential. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started actually in the beginning of fatherhood. I was in medical device sales and then was running a company that did pre and post operative surgical nutrition. And then when COVID hit, obviously anything that wasn't, necessary or immediate kind of took a back seat. And so it just didn't make sense to continue that company. And I had a kid due in a month. So I was like, I got to figure out something. So I started training clients in the gym and then started to get my real estate license. And that's kind of how this all started.
You've been pretty successful since.
I mean, yes. The success I find in real estate is not necessarily the income. It's the freedom If I want to grind it out a
Absolutely.
little bit more and go make some more money, I've got a project coming up, or we're wanting to take a trip or do something like that, I can kind of invest a little bit harder. But if I want to be present at all of my son's games and I want to coach and I want to, make time for guys in the morning to get breakfast and just to have like healthy, hearty conversation, I can do that too. So like that's where I find the success in real estate.
Oh, absolutely. That's the same how I look at owning a general contracting company. Like I can make my own schedule, coach my kids' team, make whatever I want, go on vacation when I want. Though it still holds me down in certain aspects, but that freedom to do what I want when I want is key.
Nobody sees the
So,
trade-off. I mean, people see your lifestyle and they go, man, must be nice. You know what I mean? You just live in the dream and you're like, well, at 11 p.m. I was, going over figures and contracts and trying to make this work for a deadline that no one will ever see. But yeah, it is nice.
Yeah. People don't see people crossing boundaries at 8 o'clock at night trying to ask questions about this, that, or the
Right.
other. It's like, hey, and it blows my mind too. I have to tell clients after 5, unless like it's a huge emergency, like your house is on fire or water is pouring out of all the pipes, don't bother me. Like if you want to complain about like a piece of tile or something, we can talk about it in the morning.
Well, and sometimes I envy the 9 to 5 guy. I really do. Like being able to leave work at work and come home and just to be present. But that's got its trade-offs too. It's waiting for you when you wake up. At least at this capacity, it just never stops. So you're just like, I just will absorb it into everything that I do, which is a good and bad thing. Sometimes, but it's speed to lead out here. There's 2,000 real estate agents in this area. So if you want something, you don't really have the freedom to be like, I'll get to it in a day or so. A day or so, it'll be sold and someone else will have it.
Yeah. Do you have is your area pretty big? Is it a pretty big city?
So Springfield is big and there's quite a bit of surrounding areas, that are pretty densely populated, and the real estate market is just very saturated. Over the last 5 years, people like the hobbyist real estate agent where they were like, I'm going to do it on the side and have it as supplemental income. And so if you've got 2,000 agents and 1,500 of them do one deal a year, that's 1,500 deals that could have gone to the 500 that were doing it full time. So it's an interesting dynamic, and it does require some like, don't wait, speed to lead, go get it. But that's just sales anyways.
Yeah. And piggybacking on your 9 to 5 comment, it's funny you said that today. So I have a flip that's not really going well. I have, working on this podcast, working on a couple other things, and I was just driving around today. I'm like, man, sometimes I just do this to myself. You just put so many eggs in your basket. Yeah. And there's just some weeks where I'm just like, why am I doing this? I want the 9 to 5.
Yeah. And then you don't, and then you don't too, bro, because
no,
because it's one of those things where like the pressure is a privilege. And if you don't get to that point, like you got to remind yourself that it is, because you prayed for a full plate and now you got to eat it. So, and we do it to ourselves. Trust me, because I'll be the first person to be exhausted at home being like, who put all this on me? And I look around, I'm like, oh, shoot, I did. You know what I mean? I committed
this
to this
motherfucker right here.
For real, dude. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where it's just a constant self-reflection where you have to be intentional about knowing the workload is a blessing. Because there were seasons where we had no work and it was tight, and you had to really scrape to make it work. And so now, what we looked for, what we hoped for, what we prayed for is in front of us, and it's just our job to go get it now.
Absolutely, man. Well, yeah, let's dive into this, brother.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. Caleb Scott, thank you. So you're a real estate broker, founder of ManDays, owner of Soapbox Studios, and Better Dad podcast. Yeah. So you got a lot on your plate.
It seems like it's some days
adventurous. Yeah. So I definitely want to hear all about all of those. Because the Soapbox Studio, the Better Dad podcast, hear all about it. But reading through your story, there were several times where I had to stop and kind of reread some of them because you really gave me some depth and you're really open and vulnerable. So I really appreciate
man,
that
for sure.
because I think every dad that's going to listen to this podcast and tune in is going to hear a piece of themselves in your story. So, and fathers, dads, men sharing their stories allows other men, to know it's okay for them to be feeling a certain way.
Of course.
Or be going through some kind of darkness. So kudos to you for definitely jumping on this podcast and about to spill all your beans. So where I like to start is way, 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 way back. Little Caleb. Tell me a little bit about Caleb Scott as a child from when you remember running around 3-4 years old. Yeah. What was life like for little Caleb?
Man, I grew up in suburban Midwest Christian household. I really was super blessed. Mom and dad were together, had a nice front yard. Our house was the family house that everyone came to for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We had a pool in the backyard. Like we really had, looking back, my childhood feels like almost a different lifetime. It was so 90s, like perfect. Technology wasn't a big deal. You did things in person. The dinner table was where real conversations were had. I don't know, it's just like a time that I cherish so much. So I grew up in a Christian household. Mom and dad were together. Mom and dad served at our local church. I was the only child. So, I was very well taken care of. I was the center of attention. I played sports. I played piano. I was involved in everything that I could be involved with. It was, I was a very let's go get it from an early age. My dad was the bread maker. My mom was the homemaker. And so that kind of old school dynamic really worked. And I saw it work. I never saw my mom in a weaker, more inferior light because she did so much so that my dad could provide in that regard. And I really valued that dynamic, lived out in front of me. I had home cooked meals. I played basketball in the driveway. I was very privileged to have what I had as a child. I went to the same school, kindergarten through 12th grade. It's a Christian school here in Springfield that my son now attends. It was a huge part of the shaping I am now as a man. As I look back on it, I'm super grateful too, knowing what principles and core values were instilled in me at such an impressionable age. But yeah, man, I just really remember. I don't know, some of the stuff that I remember, obviously there were bad times, but one thing I really specifically remember from my childhood is that any friends that I had whose parents weren't together, I always thought I had a leg up on them. They would always say, I'm going to my dad's this weekend, or I'm spending a few days with my mom. And I just remember thinking, that's not me. It could never be me. I don't even know what that looks like. My parents fought, they'd have loud drag outs and whatever. I thought every family did. But they were together, and that was a big deal. And so I just thought kind of the way things went and operated were just the way things were supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up the similar situation. Mom didn't work. Dad worked blue collar full time, always working and just putting values on us and playing sports, semi normal life. But yeah, parents fought a lot. And I just thought it was kind of the norm. So being a single child, I wasn't a single child. How was being a single child? When were you born? What year?
91. I'm 35.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it was,
yeah.
It was one of those things where you could use it to your advantage, but I never really had the sibling camaraderie. I didn't have someone to share the weight of things with. I felt like a lot of pressure fell on me individually in a fight. The older I got, the more I think my parents, not intentionally, but would kind of lean on me during a fight and be like, Mom did this, Dad did this. Kind of feeling like I had to choose sides sometimes based on the conflict that had arisen. But also being an only child meant that I had very intentional focus on me. I mean, like my sports, my school, my efforts, all of those things were very well attended, well supported. So there were a lot of things my parents did really well for me together at that time in my childhood. It wasn't until I kind of, when I entered high school and I started to really socially understand certain things and start picking up on things that I finally realized, this may be a little bit more broken than I thought it was as a kid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. In high school, that's when I kind of realized my parents were not, they're parenting, but they weren't together. Yeah. Like you can definitely see they weren't mentally with each other, physically with each other. Right. They were just playing the part for us kids. And yeah, that you can feel that like as a kid, like that emotion and yeah, the parents coming to the kids doing the dumping of their feelings about the other parent. Like that just pours anxiety. That's what I got. It's just like the anxiety is like you're talking bad about my mom or you're talking bad about my dad. When a parent doesn't understand, we'll get into this co-parenting, but a parent doesn't understand when you're talking negative about the other parent, that makes a kid feel a certain way because that kid has a connection to that parent. Right. So they feel they're that way as well. Yeah. And it just mentally can really pound on a kid. So,
there were times that I was told, hey, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. And I think maybe when it was said, it was meant with love, but what it did to me at that time was put an insurmountable pressure on me to be like, if I don't perform, if I don't do everything that I'm supposed to, I could be the reason one of these parents leaves. And I can't screw up. I can't.
That's unfair.
And so if I did screw up, I hid it. And I fought really hard to give this squeaky clean appearance and performance in everything that I did so that I wasn't responsible for the division of my family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. That's really tough because that's just the parents, and not banking on your parents, but a lot of parents do this. That's just them not facing their own situation and problems. Putting it
and
dude,
we got to remember too, like 30 years ago, there wasn't any of this information. There weren't dudes doing podcasts about emotional regulation and trying to be, you know what I mean? Like our dads were just hard men. They just worked hard. Their default emotions were I'm fine or I'm angry. And that had 250 other emotions inside of those two things. And so, I have to give my parents some grace too, because they grew up in a time where this kind of stuff, this conversation was never had. I looked at like the friends that my dad had, and I don't know, they'd see each other at events or family gatherings, and they'd go, well, how's work? It's good. How about you? Oh, the boss is hard on me. How's the fam? They're alive. And like, that was the extent of there was no depth. There was no real conversation. I don't think they knew how to. So when it came to processing their emotions and how they were handling things with their kids, they had no clue. And so the older I got, I think the less they felt like they had to hide certain things from me. And so like the older I got, the more I saw, and maybe it's because I learned more and I grew up, but also because I think the older I got, the less pressure there was on them to keep it so tight knit as opposed to when I was, 10.
Yeah, absolutely. You described your dad as the hardest worker you've ever known, but also someone that you walked on eggshells around. What was it actually like growing up inside that home?
My dad is still working today. He
likewise,
dude, and I saw him today.
67, man.
My dad I think my dad will be 69 or 70 this year. 57.
And I saw him on Instagram. Your dad's yoked.
Yeah, he is.
Your dad's a good looking dude, man.
Bro.
Yeah, my dad's 67, and there's something about that generation too, where they age like fine wine.
I'm telling you, bro. So like my dad does ultrasound and has on Hearts for
Okay.
35 years. And so I walked in our office today and saw him, and he is leaned over his computer, coughing into a tissue and exhausted. I mean, he's on call at the hospital. He's working circles around these young kids. Just doesn't know how to stop. Will work himself to death. I think our dads were like, retirement sounds amazing, but deep down they know that if they ever stopped working, they'd have nothing. So
they would go insane.
Literally. So growing
literally.
up, so my dad had a really hard life. He grew up poor, and he was incarcerated for some time. And when he met my mom, who was this virgin pastor's daughter, he had come to know Jesus in prison. And so this woman was like a breath of fresh air, and we're going to start a family. We're going to do everything right. And so my dad had worked really hard to get into the hospital system to where he could be in cardiovascular ultrasound. But again, if you ask my dad about his parents and what he experienced, it's bananas. It's something from a horror film that you can't even imagine a kid having to sit through or experience. My dad's brother took his life. And my dad was a part of that and found that and was, deeply affected by that. So before he even became a dad, he had experienced enough things that, just whittles away at someone and their ability to, handle things well. So my dad, like I said, came from that generation where he was just angry. Angry was the default emotion for everything. And I think it's just because he didn't know how else to respond. And I want to be very careful because my dad will be the first person to watch this podcast. And I want to make sure I'm very honoring to what he's done in my life and is currently doing in my life as a grandfather to my son now. But I also want the men that follow your podcast to feel and experience what I have felt and experienced at a level of honesty. So my dad did a lot of things poorly. His emotional regulation was minimal. He was poor, so he valued things. I would play basketball in the driveway, and if the ball would hit the rim a certain way and bounce and hit the garage, and he heard it hit the garage, I can still as a man hear his voice, the anger, the yell that came out of the house or came out from around the garage about me hitting this garage. Nothing intentional, nothing on purpose, but would just deafening anger that would just make you feel so small. I remember him being mad at referees at my games. I remember him being mad at coaches, mad at other parents, to the point that my parents wouldn't sit together because he would be saying angry things at other players or coaches or parents. He was always wanting to fight. Conflict was what he looked for, almost.
His comfort.
And so my dad, as the income earner for our household, I'll never forget, we would have family come over, and they would all stay at our house because our house was the fun house to be at and celebrate for. And so all the family would be downstairs, laughing, talking, having a good time. And my dad goes to bed at 8 and 9 o'clock every night because he had to be up for work in the morning. And if you were ever too loud or having too much fun or disrupting his sleep, I'll never forget hearing the sound of him coming down the stairs, looking around the stairs and screaming at everybody because he had to be at work to pay the bills the next day. And so I just remember him in these two lights. My dad's very charming, very charming. He's a sweet, sweet man. And also in another light, he can also be a very angry, fiery driven man. And there was very rarely you saw an in-between to both. And so that eggshells I saw not just in my life, but in my mom's life too. And as a mama's boy growing up, a only child watching your mom, walk on eggshells and to be yelled at and to be screamed at and to be told things that, I would shoot a stranger in the face for speaking that way to my mom. Like that put a wedge between kind of my dad and I in that time period. But again, as angry as he was still there. And so like there was a part of me that just said, angry or not, he still sleeps here. He still eats here. He still shows up here. But there was a time I was probably 14 or 15 and my dad wanted to build on to our house. It was like a separate garage. He wanted to have an extra 2-car garage that was going to have like an attic upstairs for storage. And we were going to be able to, it was going to be a great addition to our house. And my mom was so against it. And I remember being so confused hearing my mom's objection to this, because why would you not want something so great for the house? And so then my dad moved his private gym out there. And so my dad was like religious about weights. Every day after work, he'd work out for 2 hours in the gym, come in, go to bed. And so what I saw was that first it was the gym. And then he wanted to get a TV out there. And my mom and him fought about that. And then he wanted to get internet out there for a computer. And my mom and him fought about that. And I just was like, why are you fighting all of this stuff? But then I realized that my dad was kind of moving out while being underneath our roof. He would get up at 6 a.m. and go to work all day. And then he would come home and be in the gym for 2, 3, 4 hours, watching TV, being on the internet, had a little mini fridge out there, had a bathroom out there until it was time to go to bed, and then he'd go to sleep. And so when I finally was like 18, 19 years old, I go, I didn't even realize that my dad was kind of moving out underneath my nose, trying to justify it through the gym.
He was disconnecting.
Big time. And again,
yeah.
And I think that disconnection yielded some of what caused the ultimate break in our family. I think the lack of accountability and the exposure to, because I mean, we got the internet. You know what I mean? Like we were the generation where the internet was given to us. And so where we had to go find dirty magazines or, you know what I mean, see them in real time, then all of a sudden you could just find anything you wanted on the internet. And I think that really opened up Pandora's box in a lot of men's lives that they were not prepared for, that really fractured a lot of their relationships.
Yeah, temptation, man. What you open to share what ultimately happened?
Yeah, so it's unfortunately one of the most vivid memories of my life. I was playing 2 sports at the time, and I'll never forget, I got this red LG flip phone. It was so rad. T9 texting, dude, I was burning through that thing. I was sending 3,000 texts a day, and it was free after 9 p.m., so I was talking to all my homies. No one will ever understand now.
The snake game.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So I was in our house, in our laundry room, and I guess my dad had come home from work kind of early, didn't know I was home, or just it wasn't registering. And so I'm in the laundry room and I hear him walk in and he's on the phone with somebody. My dad's not a very emotional guy unless it was anger. And so I hear him talking to this person saying things like, I'll pack a bag right now. I would do this, this, and this. I just remember being like, what an odd conversation, but I didn't think much of it. And then at the end he said, okay, I love you, and hung up. And I was like, man, I'd never really heard my dad tell my mom he loved her very intentionally, very often. And they didn't say it when they hung up. So I was like, weird. So I'm like 17 at this point. And so he sets his phone on the counter and he goes upstairs. And for the first time in 17 years, I thought to go through his phone. And so I walked over to the counter and I picked it up and I flipped it open. And I realized that my mom was not the only woman in my dad's life at that time. And I was heartbroken. And I was like, in one moment, I was flooded with so many emotions I wasn't prepared for. Like anger was my number one. Like, how dare you? But number 2, I was so embarrassed because how could I have missed it? Like, how could I have been so naive this whole point to think that this couldn't have been a possibility? Like, I was sitting there as a 17, almost 18-year-old man being like, dude, this has been going on and you've missed it, Caleb. Like, how could you not have protected your mom better? How could you not have like stopped it more? And so I was broken. And so we ended up having a conversation, and I told my dad he needed to tell my mom. We kind of had a fight about it ourselves, the two of us, and I approached him about it. I said, man, you told me you'd never lie to me as your son. And so he kind of broke down and was like, dude, I'm doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. And I was furious, dude. I just wanted it to be, he picked up the wrong phone at work, and there's some explanation as to why it couldn't have been that. And so then we had this blue leather couch, sectional. And I told my dad he had to tell my mom, as if I had some authority at 17 years. You know, it's a big bad.
Was this the same day you found out?
No, it was a week later. I'd been sitting on it for a week, hadn't told my mom, just like I wanted him to tell her. And I didn't even know what I expected. You know what I mean? I don't.
How to approach him.
I don't know how mortgages work. I don't know how divorce works. I don't even know what I wanted, but I wanted him to tell my mom. And so I came home from school one day. I remember opening the door from the garage into the house and feeling like I had to push it extra hard to open it because like the house felt so heavy. And I walked through our blue square tiled kitchen. I turned the corner, and as I walked in, I saw this blue sectional couch. And on one end sat my dad, who had his hands covering his face just in shame and in tears. And I knew at that moment that he had told my mom. But the most difficult part about that memory is seeing my mom's face and realizing that my mom was aware and had been aware for a long time. And my mom's face was not sad. My mom's face was not shameful. My mom's face was very still. And I was so disappointed that she had to put up with it for so long in order to protect me from knowing. And I, in that moment, really developed a pretty closeness to my mom, and I've always been close. My mom's a rock star. I love her to death. But right then and there, I think in that point, it was so pivotal in the fact that I would never, ever, ever, ever let anybody ever hurt her again. And so I'm very intentional about contractors she ever works with, service people she ever works with. Someone talks to her crazy at the bank, I'll pull up. You know what I mean? Like I will never let that kind of disrespect happen to my mom again. And so that was right around the time where I was exiting high school, going to play college football, and leaving my household. So in like a couple of weeks span, our family dog died. My mom and dad separated. I went to play a sport I had never played prior to college. I got mono the first week of fall camp, and I was crying every night in a dorm room with a guy from San Diego, California. It was like the toughest 8 weeks of my life.
Fuck, man. Oh, bro. I don't know how I'd approach my dad and bring that up because, it's your dad. And he's just probably going to be outraged with you coming at him with something that he did. And then, your mom, that's your mom.
Yeah.
You want to protect her, And I love how you talk about your mom. What made her different? You said something beautiful in what you sent me. She was wounded, but made sure she didn't bleed on me. She was wounded, but made sure she didn't bleed on me. And with you telling me that story, it sounded like she was wounded for years and holding back that blood. And she knew.
My mom will be the first person to own her mistakes and say that she she wasn't perfect in her marriage in regards to things she could have done better and conflict management styles and things she could have cared more about or things she could have cared less about. But my mom has a resiliency for the gospel that I genuinely attribute a lot of my own relationship with the Lord to. My mom has experienced a level of hurt and pain in her life that would pretty easily tell somebody to give up on having a relationship with God. Like if there was somebody that had an excuse to be like, hey, I'm really not enjoying this, it was her. And what I saw when she experienced this kind of pain is instead of blaming God or exiting her relationship with the Lord, she leaned into it. And there were so many opportunities for her to tell people about what happened and to give information about my dad and not even like publicly shame him, but to like give people the full story that I watched her never do. She knew that the work that they had done together was more impactful than the need for her to feel validated by giving people information that would just hurt their platform. And so she wasn't lying. She wasn't being deceitful, but she just realized that they had made such an impact when they were together that she wasn't going to allow something like this to have a momentary destruction on what God had done through their marriage to that point. And so I really respected that. And I continued to respect it about my mom. At 70 years old, she is still a woman that I have such a reverence for because she seeks the Lord at a pace and a rate that just blows my mind, holds my own feet to the fire. And again, I think it's that generation. She has that hospitality gene where so I'm at the age now where I've got a home and I can invite people over and I can host parties and I can host get-togethers and I can have Thanksgiving. Brother, doing that one time is enough to make you never want to do it again. Like, one, what you spend. Two, knowing that people are in your house, tearing it up, sitting on your couch, using your toilets, all the things, and then they leave.
All the dishes you got to do.
Oh my gosh, bro. And I just remember thinking, dude, my mom did all of this every holiday, every year, while like laboring through some of the most difficult seasons of her life and never blaming anybody, never putting my dad on blast. That was such a special thing for me too, is that no matter what happened, she made sure that she maintained a level of respect in all the things that she did.
Yeah, it sounded like she lived for everybody else.
She did. And
she lived for everybody else.
That's why I think she has such a rich life, man. To be honest, she has more friends. Dude, I tell you, it's so funny. My mom's name is Glenda. I'm like either Glenda's son or Cohen's dad. Like I don't even have a space anymore. When people meet me, they're like, oh, you're Glenda's son, or oh, you're Cohen's dad. So I just live somewhere in the middle of it because she has such an impact, man. And she opens up her home and she's kind and gracious. And I think that's why her life is so rich and full. And so it's really interesting to kind of see that, how that has shifted when my parents separated. Because I think my mom, because of her commitment to her marriage, would have stayed regardless of the circumstances. But when they did finally separate, and I have been able to see her independently do things on her own, she has just continued to blossom in her relationship and her abilities to love people for the gospel. And that's so cool to me, man.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it seems like she's continually growing. So through the thick and thin. So I'm 100% with you too with hosting, to get off topic real quick.
Every time I go,
sorry,
someone's like, hey, we're having a big one. Can we use your house? And I go, ooh, we're using paper plates, plastic forks, and I'm throwing everything away when it's done. It's taking a tablecloth, wrapping it all up and throwing it in the trash.
Yes. Okay. So we're a mixed family, Cambodian and white. Cambodians throw big parties. So whenever we always get stuck with the fucking egg rolls, and Lena's a really good cook too. And so, I have so many kitchen gadgets to make Cambodian shit which is really good. I love it. But like the stuffing, the sausages, the beef skewer sticks, and then when it's all said and done, I'm sitting next to the deep fryer, just fucking dunking so many egg rolls for hours and hours. And then it's just a big
Yep.
mess. And I'm high ADHD OCD. I like a clean
Yes.
house. And I know it's me. And so I try not to spill it too much on the family, but yeah,
Yeah.
man, hosting and dishes and your couch and your toilets, like the house cleaner just came 2 days ago,
Yes.
and now it's, you know,
Yes, bro. I feel that.
so,
We had a party Saturday at my house, and it was so great. It was such a good time. My neighbor does this big fireworks show, and I had so many people out there, and I looked in my backyard and it was so full, and I was so grateful. And then they left, and I was like, I hate all of this. It's, you know what I mean? I just had, like, when the sun came up, there was like random stuff in my yard I had to go pick up. And, you know, that's just, I'm a Scrooge when it comes to hosting, I guess, sometimes.
yeah, no, I'm 100% on that, man. Oh, man. So, do you think your parents realize how much kids watch and handle pain? Do you think they understood that while they're parenting?
I hid a lot of my pain from my parents. I hid a lot of pain from a lot of people. My best friend, Chesley, got most of it. He
Mm,
heard it and saw it. And because, I mean, he spent every night at my house. And so when somebody else saw your home dynamic, it was so weird because we lived it every day. It was just the norm. But when you had somebody over and you watched them see what you saw as normal, and you were like, whoa, all of a sudden it had like a different taste to it. I don't know. It was just weird because, like, not everybody's household was like mine. Not everybody's dad slammed doors and yelled and, you know, yelled at the dog like he was going to kill it because it barked too much. Like that wasn't the standard. So I think my parents knew that a divorce was going to have an impact on me. I don't know. I don't know. I know they considered me. I know that's why they stayed together as long as they did, because they wanted to protect me. I don't know if it did protect me, to be honest, but I think their heart was in a position where they were attempting to, if that makes sense.
yeah, it's funny because yeah, I think my parents, I think my dad held on for as long as he could, and I traveled in high school. I traveled and played basketball for a select team, and I remember I was in Dominguez Hills in outside of Compton area, and I was in the hotel room, and my dad called, and he asked me straight up. He goes, "Are you going to be okay if mom's not home when you come home?" And I'm like 15 or 16 at that
Wow.
time. I'm like, sure. And then I come home, mom's gone, little brother went with her. And so I'm like, what the fuck? And yeah, it was fucking so intense because, like, you know, you're having a great time, you know, there's conflict,
Yeah.
but you just didn't know it was going to go down like
Yeah.
that. And so, yeah, and me and my dad, we're good. You know, we're really close now. I mean, we have, you know, just like probably you and your dad, the ebbs and flows,
Yeah.
but now him as a grandpa, me as a dad, we're really solid. And we recognize our past and we've worked through it.
Sure.
But yeah, when at those times, yeah, I think parents really hold on to, I mean, myself, I held on as long as I could because I didn't know how it would affect my kids.
You know, I don't, like, looking back
So,
now as a man, I don't know what I would have rather wanted. I don't know if I wanted to grow up in a
yeah,
broken household.
true.
I don't know if that would have been better. Maybe my mom and dad would have been independently happy, and I could have thrived in that situation. Or maybe the efforts they did sacrificially to stay together in something that was hard was for my benefit. I don't know. I know that in my own life as a dad, it happened with us early. So my son has never experienced conflict between me and his mom. We've kept that away from him. So I hope that what we're doing is the best thing we can be doing for him right now, because, you know, there's no there's a lot of parenting books out there, but they're not contingent or specific to your situation.
They're not your life. Yeah. No. The only parent advice I give to anybody, when anybody asks me parent advice, they're like, "You have any advice?" I'm like, "No. Every kid's going to be different.
Yep.
The only advice: make more money because they're expensive."
That's true, dude. My only advice I ever say is be overly prepared.
That too. Yeah.
Extra
Diapers,
like, do you ever
get more
wipes,
sleep?
get more sleep, bring a bottle of water, bring a change of clothes. In my truck right now, I have like an uh-oh bag. And it's got like an extra white monster, a water bottle, some wet wipes, a change of clothes, like just in case something goes down, which inevitably happens, we are prepared.
Well, and the funny thing is, when you don't have it, it's going down.
100%. 100%. Dude.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. Every time. Oh, man. Yeah. So parents divorce. You're in college now, going through playing football.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So touch briefly on, your college career and everything. And did it lead into you meeting your
college,
your son's mom at
college
the time?
was, so I had gone to a Christian private school my whole life. And so the college I went to is a Christian college, but the sports, they were under the basis of a Christian college, but these were guys recruited from all over the country for their athleticism, not their relationship with Jesus. And so, you came from little white suburban Midwest, and now you're playing collegiate football with dudes from Dallas, Texas, and San Diego, California, and American Samoa, and Orlando, Florida. And all of a sudden you were like, whoa, this is a culture shock. So I'm an 18-year-old kid boy, man. Now, I mean, like I'm at a place where I'm now responsible for my own stuff. I have to feed myself, get dressed, attend practice, do all these things. My mom is single in a house by herself. So I'm trying to learn so again, I didn't play football in middle school or high school. I walked on in college on accident. It's a crazy story, but nonetheless, I'm trying to
that is crazy.
I'm trying to learn this sport at the collegiate level while knowing my mom is at home going to sleep by herself. And so like I really carried like a lot of just anguish going to bed. And
a lot of worry.
Yeah, for real, bro. Because I was in Bolivar, which is about 45 minutes away, so I could get home if I needed to. But I had practice at 6 a.m. and you weren't done with film until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So if I wanted to go check on my mom, I had to be exhausted, driving 45 minutes, saying hi, doing my laundry, flying back. It was a lot. So college was kind of a blur. I had not drank alcohol until my 21st birthday. Not a single drop. I never did. It was never appealing. A lot of the people that I saw do it were always hiding and in trouble, and I wanted to play sports, and so I could not fumble anything in order for me to get to play sports. I just didn't want to do it. So also my parents didn't drink. It was never in the house. I just didn't see it. We didn't drink at dinner. It wasn't a part of our family gatherings. And so I just never really saw it. It was just nothing we did. So when I started experimenting with alcohol, it was one of those things where the college I went to felt like its own world. It was small, and it was this like little rural town, and like you were kind of too far from where I live now to go do anything. So everybody just kind of had house parties, and you would drink and hang out, and I experienced kind of what the world had as a vice for pain. And so if I was a stud football player and I was at all the parties and I was doing all the cool things, then I didn't have to think about my parents' marriage crumbling. I didn't have to think about, whatever I should have been dealing with at the time. I could just throw that stuff to the side and just go party. And so like I never got in any trouble with alcohol in college. But it was something that definitely started a trajectory of kind of finding something to fix something else. That was like the first time that ever happened. I was normally a pretty hard-nosed kid that just said, here's the problem, here's the solution, let's go get it. And alcohol kind of became this step in and, hey man, let me have your back for a minute so you don't have to worry about this. And that translated into things other than my parents. It translated to relationships with women, struggles on the football team. You know, what a lot of people don't understand about college sports is that it's an occupation. And if you're receiving funding for your athletic abilities, you can also have that funding taken away. And that's for your social behavior. That's for your attendance in school. That's for your performance in grades. And so if you're late to something at 6 a.m., or if you get an F on an exam, like you could lose your ability to have an education. And so there was that pressure that I think, you know, the regular student didn't understand. And so you wanted to have relationships with, we call them Reggies, which are regular students. But, you know, the guys you went to war with at 6 a.m. and, you know, got in bar fights with and tackled guys and bled and sweat and worked with are the only guys you spent time with. So college was, I don't know. I did it. I have a degree. I enjoyed football. I really did. But really by the time I exited college, I was just kind of getting underneath myself as to what I thought about the world and what I stood for. And so when I exited college, I took a job doing medical device sales. And it's like, it was so weird because I never wanted to be in the medical field. I had applied for all these different jobs. This recruiter called me. I went to this interview. They're like, yeah, man, you're going to do like some surgery consulting and you just talk to doctors. And I was like, okay, cool. So I got hired, and the first gig they sent me to was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And it was a total reconstruction of a mandible. And so they go, hey, you need to scrub out for this. And I don't know what that means. And so they explained to me that I'm going to be in the operating room. They hand me a laser pointer to like point and talk through things. And so this frat boy had fallen out of a frat house, landed on his chin and blown both his condyles up into his like upper temple. And they had all these different surgeons in there reconstructing this dude's chin.
Jeez.
And I was the guy that supplied the materials that they like plated it all back together with. And so I'm standing as a 22-year-old kid who just got done playing college football, who doesn't know his head from his butt, with a laser pointer going, yes, Dr. So-and-so, take that green titanium plate and that number 7 screw and put it right there in that guy's face. And so like overnight, I was thrown into this fire of this job. And,
God.
And you know, so when my dad did what he did, there was this weird moment of how I saw men that just plummeted. I really felt like I had given my dad so much, an unfair, knowing who I am now, knowing what I know, unfair amount of expectation for him to succeed in everything. And so then when he inevitably, when he did fail, it crushed me. And so like any guy that said one thing and did another, I had such a disdain for. And so all of these guys I worked with at this company, I don't want to say all of them, but some of them would FaceTime their wives before we went out to get dinner and drinks, and then be hitting on different women, trying to get different numbers, taking them to the hotel, doing things with them. And I remember being like, what? Like, why do you have this job? Why do you have that wife? Why do you have those kids if you're going to be this clown on the road acting this way? And so like everywhere I went, dude, in every part of my life, I found these men who just didn't, like, they didn't stand for anything. And so I was working really hard. I was in a hotel 6 nights a week. And so the only thing I had was alcohol. And so I'd work all day, go sit at a bar for 2 or 3 hours and go back and go to bed and wake up, do it all over again. And so in that time period, it's like a 2-year span where I just was in my car or in the operating room or in a hotel. That's all I did. So then, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
So then when I'll never forget the way that this is my first experience in the real world. I had been managing 3 territories. I was the only kid in the company that was driving back and forth to like 3 different states and doing stuff. And I was exhausted and I was trying to keep up with the workload. And I felt like a lot was asked of me. I learned a lot, but a lot was asked of me. And so I had a lot of friction with the regional manager, and I'm not really sure why. But there was a day where on a Sunday night, he called me at like 7 or 8 p.m. and said I needed to be in Oklahoma City in the morning for a 6 a.m. case. It's a 4-hour drive. So I get to Oklahoma City by about midnight, 1 a.m. I'm up the next morning at 6 a.m. in the hospital doing the surgery, get all taken care of. And the regional manager texts me, he says, hey, once you bill that case, call me on your way back. I said, okay, cool. So I get in the car, get it all billed, get on my way back, and he calls me and goes, hey, you're fired. And I was like, what?
What?
And he was like, yeah, you lied about where you were during your birthday and all these other things, and you're just not a good fit. And so I had to like pull up toll receipts because like I have an expense report that I use through the company. And so I said, how can I lie about where I was when I have like toll receipts that tell you the time when I was certain places? And so like I had to go to my Facebook and show timestamps of all this stuff to try and prove that I wasn't not in the hospital when I was supposed to be. But I just quickly realized that it was just not like, there was just no arguing that that's what they wanted. And so I had been used for my willingness and abilities and then thrown to the wayside. And I was like, welcome to corporate America. So that put a bad taste in my mouth about business early. So then I got into some different endeavors. We'll say that. So that had more of the industry life, late night, drinking, being in places I shouldn't be. And that's actually where my son's mom and I first met. And she was beautiful. She was, I mean, magnetic, dude. I'll never forget meeting her and having conversation with her and being like, man, this person is different than someone I've ever talked to. And so from the beginning, we both were dishonest about certain things. And it just did not start in a way that was going to end successfully. And I think what I experienced from the hurt from growing up and trusting people is that the moment I felt like I couldn't trust them, that we were just kind of playing a game and we didn't need to trust each other. It was just like, hey, we're both in it. Let's just be a part of it. And you don't trust me, I don't trust you, but here we are. Probably a super unhealthy way to live my life and why it didn't work, but I'm being honest. So
absolutely,
we dated off and on for about 5 years, and it was so hot and cold, hit or miss. There'd be days where I was ready to make it work and she wasn't. And there would be days where she would be like, Caleb, I'm trying, I'd do anything. And I just was too caught up in the lifestyle of being the party boy and being seen and like wanting attention from other people. And so when we got pregnant, we were not together. We had a mutual friend in town, and, we just kind of the next day we're like, hey, this is not something we're going to do. It was almost like we shook hands and said, hey, this has been something we've always come back to out of comfort or out of what we know. But if we ever want to heal and move forward, we got to stop. And then like 2 weeks later, she called and was like, hey, I am pregnant. And I was like 29, 30. So I wasn't young. I wasn't without, income or a support system. So while it was shocking information, I out of all the things that could have been scary, they really weren't. And even though we weren't together, I knew her, and I really thought that she would be a fantastic mom if it ever called for it. And so I just knew how much it was going to change. And the hardest part was thinking about my own parents' relationship and then thinking about her and I's relationship. You know, do you jump back into a relationship? Do you go get married all of a sudden? Do we say, hey, we've got a baby now, we got to make it work? And I really struggle with what I was supposed to do. I knew what like the cultural expectation was, or even like the spiritual expectation from being raised in a Christian household. But I also felt like two wrongs didn't make a right. And I didn't want to put my son in a household where he experienced conflict because his mom and I were just not at a place that we could be successful together. So we go through the 9 months. And again, we're trying to figure out if we're together. We're trying to figure out if we work.
Were you living with each other?
We were not. She had an apartment. I had a house. We spent a lot of time together, obviously, but
like you're making the appointments, playing the role.
I was at every single appointment. We did everything like that together. And to be honest, dude, I tell this to a lot of dads. And I hope this is honoring to her if she ever happened to listen to this podcast. Women become pregnant the moment they're pregnant. Men don't become fathers until the baby is here. Now, by definition, not necessarily, but to understand conceptually how men see it, when a baby is inside a mom, the mom is physically affected from that moment moving forward. Her diet changes, her sleep changes, the way that she feels changes, her body grows, all of that stuff. To us as men, we can observe it, but it doesn't change anything for us. So we don't have that physical connection that women do. And so every day her body's changing. I'm seeing it, but I don't have the same understanding and feeling that she does. And so it was kind of, I think she was very disappointed that I didn't have the same reaction to it that she did or that she wanted me to. And looking back on it now, I can totally appreciate how she felt in that regard. But dude, even about 90 days in of being a dad myself was kind of the first time I realized, oh shoot, you're mine. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I didn't have it. I wasn't equipped for that part of it. So we had him in September of 2020. Which was
September, what date?
September 10th.
My birthday's the 14th.
Nice, dude.
Virgos.
So
Virgos are good people.
We're in peak COVID. So like her and I had been present for some of our friends' babies' births. And, you know, you got to have all your friends up there and you could have cigars and, you know, bring food and hang out in the waiting room. But then when COVID hit, that changed everything. So our families couldn't come. Our friends couldn't come. It was just her and I. We had to be in masks. It was so weird. It was so not what our expectations were. But
sad. It's just sad.
Yeah, it was. And so I was present for the birth. Wild experience, dude. Seeing, and again, her and I are not together. She's married and doing awesome. But watching someone go through that and experience that and to bless you with a kid, there's just a level of respect and adoration I have for her because of that. And so that was something we experienced together real time. And so I'll never forget, they take him over to the little weight table. They're, you know, wiping him off, all these things. And the OB walked in and goes, "Hey, mom has COVID." And so this is September 20. You know what I mean? Like what we know about COVID now is we're like, yeah, it's a bunch of crap. They were trying to control us or whatever. But then it was scary. And so I've got a newborn baby. I've got my son's mom who I also care about. And I'm like, what are we supposed to do? What does that mean? And so they said, well, we have to put her in a specific room. We got to monitor the baby. Dad, you have to leave the hospital and you have to get a blood test saying that you're negative for COVID or you can't come back. And so I'll never forget that drive, bro, being like, I don't care if it's negative. Like, I'm coming back to the hospital. Like, you're not going to keep me from being back here. I don't care what this test says. So I go get tested, test negative, thankfully, come back to the hospital. And so they've put us in this COVID specific room, which is like a friggin' broom closet, bro. And so they would bring us stuff in like an incubator, like cart, and like slide it in the room and then close the door behind them and then walk out. And it was like we were, like we had leprosy or something because of the COVID. And so after like 2 days of that, I like looked at her and we were like, dude, let's go home. This is crazy. So we went home and then, we're quarantined for 14 days. So then all of our family that's now excited to come meet him, now we have to tell them, hey, we got to go another 2 weeks without you seeing him. And so she had to breastfeed with a mask on. Like, we slept in separate rooms. Like, a lot of the stuff that I think is really bonding about the birth of a child, I think we kind of missed out on because of COVID. And that was super unfortunate.
Yeah. No, that's super stressful. And yeah.
And then our son ends up getting COVID. And so our newborn has COVID. And it's one thing, and like, don't get me wrong, I was worried about my son's mom, but like, you were just given this blessing, this little baby, and you're the ones responsible for taking care of it. And now it has this sickness that is, it's killing people nationwide. It's shutting down not just America, but the globe. We have a nationwide and global shutdown because of this virus or whatever. And my son has it. And dude, I'll never forget the doctor being like, hey, just make sure mom is nursing him and her breast milk will respond to what his immunity needs are. And like, her body will take care of his body. And I remember being like, what? Like this, like, I feel so worthless in this picture. I'm like, I'll cook you a cheeseburger. Like, Like, I couldn't, like, she was literally single-handedly saving our kid's life with her body. And so that was a part for me where, my faith had been tested and rocked in a lot of things, but man, hearing and knowing that by design, my son's mom's body could heal our child, dude, that was so cool. So cool. And so we had attempted, I say that lightly, to make it work. And there was just so much hurt that neither one of us had done enough work on to be healed from. There was so much that I should have done better. There was so much that I dropped the ball on. There was so much selfishness on my end. That inevitably one day I'm going to have to sit down with my son and explain to him. But yeah, we got to a place, be vulnerable. We got to a place where we had a point of contention and conflict that we just said, hey, maybe we should just co-parent. And so we tried it. And same thing from our relationship. There'd be one day where she was ready to make our family work. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to have a conflict household where our son struggles in. And then the next day I'd be ready to make it work. And she's like, well, I don't know. One day you want me, the next day you don't. And I'd given her mixed signals. So I understand her hesitation. But so, one day I was like, hey, come over. I want to talk to you. And so she brings her son over and I'm just like, look, I don't care what it takes. Let's figure this out. And she informed me that she had met somebody and that she had been talking to somebody. And I was like, oh man, like, we weren't together. I couldn't have been mad at her for doing it, but it was almost like when I finally had been to the place where I was ready to make it all work, no matter what, it couldn't. And I was heartbroken. And so over the next couple of months, that developed faster and faster. And then they got engaged. And so wow. I was kind of experiencing like so much with becoming a father, and then now having another man in my son's life that I didn't really know and I didn't have a relationship with, and like not being able to control his access to my kid when my kid wasn't with me. And that's not something every man's prepared for.
That's hard. No, I totally understand what you're saying there.
And
Yeah.
again, it's not necessarily that I thought he was a bad guy by any means, but I just, like, that was my son. And, like I told you,
Yeah.
I was an only child. I didn't have brothers or sisters. I never knew what it was like for something to share my DNA. That 90-day point, he cried, and I walked into my bedroom, and I picked him up out of his bassinet, and I held him like a little burrito, and I looked down at him, and I remember a baby picture of mine looking just like him. And in that moment, I was just overwhelmed with the sense of, you belong to me. And in that moment, I would have eaten a bullet for him. You know what I mean? Whatever it took. And I knew that he was mine and that he belonged to me, but even more so that, like, my voice, my heartbeat, my smell was something that calmed him. And, like, I took such a rich pride in that. And so then now add another man in my son's life that I didn't really have any control over. And dude, that was, you got to be in a good place to be able to handle that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can with it. Probably not the best in all ways, but we're about a year into doing things, and I get a knock on my door from a police officer, and I was like, what's up? And so he hands me papers, and I'd never been involved in any legal trouble. I didn't really know what being served papers meant. And so I said, what is this? And he goes, it's for paternity. And I was like, what? I don't understand. And he goes, good luck, and walked off. And so it was in this yellow folder. I remember walking into my kitchen, opening it up and pulling these papers out, and I had this white fridge at the time, and I put my back up against the fridge, and I just slid down to the floor, and I started reading, and it was like, whoa, like sole legal custody, taxes, child support, like visitation rights. And I was like, what? Like I knew that we had our struggles, but I never thought like this. Like, I got no call, no heads up, and I was floored. And so I sat on that floor for, I don't know, felt like forever, trying to be like, what do I do next? And
your son's one at this time?
And keep in mind too, like, I still wanted my family to work. I still had a vision of somehow it making it. And I don't know. I just, when I saw that I was holding both of these things at the same time, like wanting my family to work, but also knowing I was about to have to, like, essentially kind of protect myself in order to keep the proximity I have to my son. So I called an attorney and like tried to learn about my options. And I never wanted to hurt his mom. I never wanted to take him from his mom. You know, I might have said things to my best friends when I was frustrated or angry, but I would never want to take him from his mom. But we had this, it was so crazy because we were co-parenting and we were sharing him back and forth. And I had been served papers, and we never talked about it. I never brought it up, and she never said anything. And so I guess I was just always waiting for her to be like, hey, you know, I see you guys serve the papers. Like, where are you at with it? Like, I don't know. I thought for sure we'd just sit down together and be like, all right, what's the best course of action? How do we make this work? Let's figure it out. Because that's
communicate,
sure.
Put a plan together.
And so it was one of those things where we get into interrogatories. And so my attorney's like, hey, I've got to ask her a bunch of questions. Like, we got to, like, come up with questions to kind of get her and find out about her and have stuff to work in our corner, because they're going to ask you all these questions about you and everything that she knows about you as well. And I don't know.
So the dirt starts coming out.
And I don't know, man.
Yeah,
like,
I hated that part, man.
And
I hated that part.
So
unnecessary hurtful things are said.
And so I've got a couple buddies right now that are going through it, and the obsession they have with information about what the other parent did breaks my heart, because I know there was a season where I was so hyper concerned with what I did or didn't do because I didn't want it to be used against me to take my son. And I also know that I had to be very intentional and hyper focused on things that she did or didn't do so that I could have to protect myself if she did try and take my son.
Which takes away from both of you guys parenting.
Yes. And being able to support her, you know, and being able to have, like, you know, if he fell and hit his head, I would want to share that with her. But also the fear is telling someone who you're in a custody battle with that they fell and hit their head. All of a sudden you're a negligent father and you weren't paying attention and it's going to be used against you. So like, I just remember hating that part the most. But
anxiety, just so much anxiety.
These interrogatories,
like a little bruise on the arm, pictures taken,
dude.
Emailed to your attorney. Attorney emails you. What are these pictures?
Dude. Yes,
it's like he was on the playground. Yeah.
So these interrogatories come back, and I'm reading the stuff that she said about me, and dog, it's brutal. It's brutal, and it's someone I spent a lot of my life with, and I read things like, I don't think he's going to be a fit dad for like after his son thinks he's not cool anymore, or he doesn't have time to focus on his son because he's too busy out drinking, chasing women, or like, I just saw so much hurt in the stuff that was said. And again, she wasn't wrong in a lot of the information that she gave out, but it had nothing to do with me being a father. And I think a lot of the hurt from our relationship kind of came out in this situation that was still valid, but wasn't what we were after as far as determining fit custodial parenting. So there's so much. I mean, I want to be honest, but I want to be honoring too, because.
Amen. Yeah. I you talking is bringing up my divorce and everything that we had to go through, everything that we said about each other, how immature we were. When, you know, the bottom line is, you know, I never wanted to take my son away from his mom, but I wanted her to be healthy enough mentally to be able to handle him, because there's a past, and things that she said about me or my family, you know, like, or my mom who's passed away, and things that I would have to say about her, that I didn't want to do. I remember being in court and the judge reading some of the things that we both said, and both of us are just breaking down, bro. In court, because it's just like, we don't want to hear this. We had to say all these words trying to defend ourselves. We don't want to be here. We don't want to hear this. But we both could not stop, you know, because somebody has to win, and that's the sad reality, is somebody has to win.
Yeah, thankfully we settled outside of court and mediation. I think
we did
our mediator
after $50,000 plus dollars.
Yeah, it was a costly experience for sure, mentally and monetarily.
Calms you down real quick,
bro.
Like, I'm at the point in my life where I don't give a fuck. Do you know what I had to go through for 2.5 years as a dad trying to win custody of my son? That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and
all.
And now, you know, the mediation was, in my opinion, fair. We settled on a pretty even split, and I think the parenting plan we have in place now is really good for eliminating emotions. This is just what the parenting plan says. It's not her picking. It's not my picking. It's just what we default to every year. Now, if we want to have a day where we go, hey, can you have him extra, or can I have him here? Like, we work through that together as a team. But the parenting plan has been very successful in helping kind of keep us in line without getting some emotions involved with it. But yeah, I'm with you, bro. Like, I really believe that God has brought me into the season where I'm at now, especially with this men's outreach program we have, to like talk to men who are in this situation. And I hate it, dude. I hate it for all men. It sucks. It is not something you should ever have to do. It's a attempted fix at something that was never planned. Like, we never planned for divorce. Divorce is not a good thing. We don't want divorce. We don't want broken families. But inevitably, if they have to happen, this is kind of the recourse of action to figure out what happens next. But I know for a fact now that my decision making, my intentionality, and my love for my son was benefited greatly because of that experience. Like the carefulness that I have when it comes to the way I speak to her, the way I handle things, the way I make decisions. I'm not perfect by any means, but I am so in love with being a dad because I had to fight to be one. And so, it's something that's a wound for me for sure. But looking back on it now, I'm grateful that I walked through it, and I've now got some perspective to be able to share with other men that are in the thick of it right now too.
Yeah. It's I like what you just said too. My son Cypress will never hear me speak negatively about his mother. There could still be anger and things within me about her, but I will never make a bad comment about her in front of him, right? Because he's a piece of her. Yeah. And I hope that she does the same, which, does she? I don't know. But, there comes a point in time where you need to put your feelings and hatred for the other parent aside for the kid. And it's really fucking hard.
Yeah, it is.
Because, you have the parenting plan, and then sometimes you get a text or you have to use a family parenting app or whatever, and they say something, and I tell all men, don't respond right away. Respond the next day if it pisses you off. Yeah, because they're trying to get you to, they're trying to fuel the fire.
And the other thing that I think is important to understand is that before we were parents, we were in a relationship. And just because I may have healed or moved on from certain things doesn't mean she's been able to. And so she doesn't always just see me as my son's dad. She sees me as somebody that hurt her in our relationship. Yeah. And so sometimes her responses come through someone who's hurt her. And so like, if I really care about her and I really care about my son's relationship with her, then I need to hold that. I need to be able to carry that and say, man, there was a time where you participated in things that wounded her and have generated this kind of response mechanism. And that's something you're going to have to labor through. So it's just, it sucks. It sucks. It's not what it's supposed to be. And so I look at my own parent situation where they never had to do this. And, they didn't have to have a parenting plan at 18 because I exited the house. And so I'm like, maybe it was better that way. Yeah. But my son's mom and I keep our conflict between us. It doesn't make it to, my son thinks, she has another child. And so we FaceTime and talk, and I say hi to everybody all the time, and she'll tell me stories, and her and I will still talk about random things. And I was texting her last night about a cow I found in my backyard, and it's like, we're cool, man. And in the best way that you can be with someone that has some deep rooted hurt that happened in your relationship.
Yeah. So it takes time, step by step.
It does. It sucks, dude, because I hate hearing time heals all wounds.
Yeah.
But it does.
We're impatient. We're men.
Man, I'm telling you, bro. I'm a fixer too. And I just want to be like, what would it take for me to just bypass all of this hurt right now?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You said becoming a dad changed everything. And obviously us listening to your story, we can tell how it changed you. You said not just parenting, but it changed your business, your finances, your priorities. Yes. What's changed inside you? Did you become a calmer dad or calmer man? Were you somebody that loved, but now you're just full of love?
It's an interesting question.
Empathy, sympathy.
Man, you know what? What changed is
I cry more, honestly. Bro, as a dad, I cry
my whole life, Brian. I'm this big tattooed, scary guy who'd be in my truck just sobbing uncontrollably just at a stoplight.
It's always the big tattoo guys. Like everybody thinks I'm intimidating at the gym, and then they meet me like, "Oh, he's so nice." I'm like, "Bro, you have no idea." I'm like, when I go to I do psilocybin therapy.
Oh, nice.
Because it's a West Coast thing for sure, and that's how I get deep. But when I hit where I go and meet up with my therapist, I'm 2 box Kleenex,
Get it out. Listen, if I don't cry, I'll explode, dude. I got to. But no, so for me, fatherhood put me in the backseat where I belonged. I was very self-seeking man. And a lot of that came from the way that my dad spoke about me. My dad kind of lived vicariously through me and made me think my shit didn't stink and that I could do anything I wanted. And so I acted that way. And I was very prideful and I was very careless in relationships. And so then I became a dad. And
do you think that's being a single child?
I think part of it is because you didn't have to share in the spotlight. But I also think that it like,
I just asked because my son's a single child. Well, he has a half sister.
okay,
But
same.
She's 19. It's another story. She's 19. She's into my life. She's not in her mom's life. And me and her dad are really close to keep the kids together. But they're both single kids. And I can see where they understand they have siblings and they're close. But I can also see a difference with Cypress and some of his friends that have siblings around their age.
Yeah, and honestly, bro, I think it comes down to us as parents. I think communicating and putting in metrics of accountability that keep them grounded is what's important. Because my son is awesome. Like, he is awesome. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his dad, but like, he is awesome at sports. He is awesome at life. He's big. He's handsome. He's kind-hearted. Like, he does so many awesome things. But I also know that comes with a huge responsibility of struggling to find humility sometimes. So I think, one, it has to be lived out in front of him. You know, we can say as much as we want, but if I don't live a humble life, he's never going to see it. So I try very often to like openly take a back seat in things and gratify and glorify other people. We talk about all the time, seeing good things and speaking good things. And so if he sees something that he likes, and like, so we're in Walmart the other day and he goes, Dad, check out that guy's shoes. Those shoes are sweet. So one, I want him to see good things in other people, but I also want him to speak to him. So I said, we're going to go tell him. And so we took our card over and he said, hey man, I really like your shoes. And so I think we have a responsibility to direct our kids to be that way. But I think if we naturally let the world parent our kids, they will end up selfish and stomping all over other people.
Yes, absolutely. Our kid Cypress doesn't have an iPad. So Lena's a software engineer.
Okay.
I tell everybody, if you are going to let an iPad or YouTube raise your kid, you're failing as a parent. Yeah. So yeah, he doesn't touch any of that stuff. And we're trying to go as long as we can to keep him away from that.
And don't get me wrong, bro. I get it. Sometimes we're out at dinner and I need 15 minutes and it's easier for him to watch something for a second. Like, I got respect. And for the people that have more than one, I look at some of these families out there and they got 3 under 3 and I'm like, bro, good for y'all. You know what I mean? Like, I got so much respect for them. But I agree.
3 under 3.
Dude, I think moderation is so important with anything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
in sports, like when he steps on the field, he's a winner and I expect him to run people over. But the moment that's over, or even simultaneously, like, you can still be a destroyer and be dangerous and also kind and full of humility. Like, you don't have to give those things up to have both. And so back to your original question, what has fatherhood changed in me? It's made me more of a servant, and in the most appealing way ever. I love showing up for my kid. I love making his special oatmeal. I love when he's tired and he said, hey, Dad, can I have a glass of Chalky Boom? And I go get the cold chocolate milk from the fridge and he's all cuddled up on the couch and I get to give it to him like that. I love that. That's what I want. So it exposed in me a desire to serve other people at like a very significant rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about your son for a minute because I see, what you guys are doing on Instagram. I think it's really great. Okay. Matching shoes, which looks like some expensive matching shoes.
He's a baller, dude.
Yeah. You coach him?
I do. Yeah, I got to coach basketball and soccer and flag football this year.
Okay. Yeah, my son's just 100% soccer. He's thinking about, he wants to try flag football, but he's just, since 2, he's just all soccer.
So I get it.
And he already knows. He's like, I want to be a goalkeeper. But at his age, he's 7. He's a year older, I think, than your son. At his age, I coach a soccer team. It's just 4-on-4, no goalie. third grade 7-on-7 with goalie, but you start to see what kids like what position, and he never likes to cross midfield. He just likes to stop the ball.
Interesting.
And he's already said, he's like, Dad, I want to be goalie. I want to be keeper. I'm like, all right, bro. So I explained to him, we have season tickets for Seattle Kraken.
Nice.
I go, we love the goalie, but when he gets scored on, we hate the goalie. So,
a lot of pressure in that spot.
They're either going to, So when you're a goalie, and he's super competitive, like he's competitive where I love it, but at this age, he's a little physical, which I do love, because when he gets in high school, you need to be able to run and bump.
You bet.
But when you're running and bumping as a 7-year-old, other parents don't like that. So, your son's probably super competitive from your nature, but you got to try to tone it back. Like when we're kicking ass.
It's so tough, bro, because the team, like all the boys that he plays with, all go to school together. And so it's so fun to see them like grow together and play together. So in their brotherhood, in their basketball season, like they were stomping everybody. They were so good. They won every game. They were fun. It was fun to watch. Well, so then when we started our flag football season this year, they didn't have a pre-K league. So we played in the kindergarten, first grade league. So I've got 4 and 5-year-olds playing with 7, 8-year-olds, and it is different. And you really grow into your motor skills and your body development and your body movement over those 3 or 4 years. And as maybe the second game we played, it was halftime and we were just getting stomped, dude. And I come over to the sideline and my son is sitting on the ground and he's crying. And I don't know what it is about us as men when we see our kids crying. Like, there's just this like, dude, what are you doing? Like, stop feeling sad. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And so I came over to him. I said, hey man, what is going on? And so he's got these big, beautiful brown eyes, and he like wiped his nose and he looked up at me and goes, Dad, I hate losing. And I just remember being like, okay, let's go, dude. Like my son had such a desire to win and like chase victory. Yes. I was like, okay, I can work with this. So yeah, dude, it is that like tough threshold where you want them to still be kids, but you also don't want to like dwarf that love for the game or that competition where they're sending it. They're going so hard because they care. Like, I don't ever want to like stiffen my kid's ability to care. He cares so deeply, and that applies in everything. But just like you and I know, like our passion is our greatest resource, but it can also be our biggest downfall. And so we have to be very careful with where and who and what we expose our passion to, because sometimes passion can be miscommunicated as arrogance or as aggression. So I feel that 100% with what you're going through.
Yeah. I don't know where the quote came from, but like, I think it was Gary Vee. He said, if your kid cries when he loses, that's a good thing.
Oh, like,
yeah. Yeah. I ask every dad that coaches. So the tough thing for me in Cyprus was separating dad and coach. For him to understand, like, I'm coach right now. I'm coaching you. I'm not dad right now. Was there a tough part?
To be honest,
separating.
I don't know if we ever even had that struggle. So
that's good.
And I don't know why. Like, we never had to talk about it. He I don't know, dude. He's awesome. Like all the other kids, so I would treat him the same way. And I think maybe that's part of it, is that he got the same treatment everybody else did. He didn't get.
You don't treat him a little tougher?
I didn't. I really didn't.
No?
Because my dad did that.
I catch myself with Cy doing that.
My dad did that. Now I might hold other kids to certain, like, okay, at 5 years old, some kids are out there just to be out there. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Some kids are out there because they care. The ones that care, I will coach differently than the ones that just want to be out there. So
true.
So I will give them certain responses that like the other kid, I'm like, hey man, I'm glad you're here. Like, let's just go have some fun. But the kids that are working, I'll say, hey, is that what you thought when you did that? What is your goal? Like, we'll talk through stuff like that. But like, if Cohen gets in trouble, he'll go sit on the wall. And it wrecks him to be in trouble. He does not want to be in trouble. He does not want to miss out. And so when I punish him the same way that I punish the other kids, I think he sees ultimately that there's no fair treatment. There's no extra aggressive treatment. But also, like, one of my videos on Instagram is while coaching on the floor, he would score a basket and he would run and jump into my arms and celebrate. And I don't know, I am his dad and his coach. So I just get to happen to be on the floor while watching him play. So I maybe we'd never had to separate it because I was both. I am his dad.
Yeah.
He does have something with me that the other kids don't. And I'm not going to pretend that we don't. But I will coach him the same way that I would coach any other kid. And that is with everything that I got, trying to make them the absolute best athlete they could be.
Yeah. No, coaching it's fun. I love coaching kids, like just building their confidence. Each season we have something else that we focus on. That I tell the parents, like, hey, try to preach this at the dinner table was what we're working on this year. And the parents love that. And I've had the same team. Our league was first and second graders. We had an all first grade team, and we just annihilated teams to where I told the club, I'm like, hey, next year, it's not going to be fun for us because this year I had to tell them, 10 passes before you shoot, just because you can see when other parents are getting mad on the other sideline, and teaching the kids, you don't got to celebrate every time, sportsmanship. Yeah. So we're thinking of taking our team of second graders and them giving us some third graders just so they can lose. Yeah. Because I have an assistant coach too. I'm like, yo, they don't know how to lose because we're so good. Because we just teach skills. Yep. That's what coaches come up. They're like, what do you guys do? Like, they know how to score a goal. Yep. They don't know. I grew up playing soccer too. My mom played collegiate. They know how to score a goal. Teach them the base dribbling, rolling back, the skills. And then they do that in the game. And
and flag football is hard because in basketball, you can kind of survive. Like, go down there and shoot, go down here and shoot. That's it. In flag football, it's like you have to start at a certain time. You have penalties. You have a first down you have to get to. You got, like, it was very, like, there was so much learning going on. And so these boys did so good, bro. And they got the hang of it and they got so much better. And they started really playing like well as a unit. And like our parents are a big testament to our success too. Like, I have a really awesome group of parents. Seriously,
super
dude,
key.
I'm telling you, like, number one, supportive of me, which I
they let you coach.
Yes, bro. And I appreciate that tremendously and I hope they know how much I love their kids. Like, I really do love them. And so when they give me the freedom to coach and they support me, and even if they do have questions, it's never phrased in an accusatory way. It's like, hey, why do we do this? Or like, help me understand this. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, here's where we're at. And so I'm super thankful that we have a core group of parents that are supportive, that show up, that participate, that are team minded. I don't think I've had a single time yet where anybody was complaining about playing time. They've all just been very supportive of what we've been doing. And that's made a huge impact. But what you'll also see in coaching is other parenting styles and how it affects each athlete. Because you'll see the one kid who's hyper obsessed with his mom's opinion. And you'll be talking to this kid and you'll watch his eye contact drift over to make sure his mom or his dad was watching. And then you'll watch this other kid who's very stoic and very calm, and his parents aren't watching at all. And so you start seeing all these different dynamics represented. And I'll tell you, and like, this is a true testament of like coaching of the teams I've coached. The parents who are there and actively participating in their kids' performance, good or bad, their kids are significantly better than the kids who are just out there. So number one, caring is crucial for your kids' development, because they know that you're there to watch them, not just dropping them off for something to occupy your time. And number two, the parents that spend time with their kids working on their craft outside of practice and games, those kids get better faster too, because it's constantly being impressed on them. Even if you don't know anything about football, hey, me and my son were in the backyard. We've been throwing the football together. He's been working on catching. So when he comes to practice, he wants to show me what him and his dad have worked on. And so he's taking pride in what he's done, that his dad is invested in him outside of practice. So like, those two key things have made such an impact on the development of our players.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, parents are huge. Like, yeah, we're a very healthy family. We meal prep every Sunday. We buy half a cow. We don't buy Costco meat. We're very intentional with how we do things mentally, physically, and Si's the same way. Like he doesn't like fast food, sweets. He eats all of his vegetables, and parents are always like, "How does Si eat vegetables?" or "How does Si do this?" And we just say, we do
Yeah.
it. He's seeing what
Yes.
we do,
Yes.
and he's following
Yes.
us. So, and sometimes I just got to tell the parents, if you want your kid to change, you got to change. And then you got to rip the Band-Aid because you've developed this.
That's great advice.
And you've developed you developed a standard that you don't like yourself. And you're now you're recognizing it because you're seeing your kid.
Yeah, dude. That's so
it.
hard too, because it's so exposing in your own life where you're like, why is my kid acting like such a jerk? And you're like, oh shoot. Like they learned how to be a jerk from somebody. Like you ever been in traffic and said something to somebody like that was driving and hear your kid repeat it and be like, that's what I sound like? That's horrible, dude. I gotta shut up when I drive.
Yeah. Oh man. Yes, for real. Your son didn't think you had a job?
Dude, I don't think he still thinks I have a job. I told somebody that this morning for breakfast. So in real estate, you could go a day or two without doing anything. You've got deals in the pipeline or you're waiting on stuff or trying to get pre-approval and financing. But then when we go show houses, I'd take him with me. And so we'd go on a trip and we'd meet new people and we'd open a house and walk around and show them all the cool things. And so, one day I was like, hey, what does your dad do for a living? Like, what does your dad do for work? And he's like, you don't have a job. You play with me. And I remember being so defeated hearing that, being like, dude, I work freaking hard, bro. I work so hard. But also realizing that what I did for work included him and he got to be a part of it and enjoy it. And that was such a privilege for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. He knew that. He got to have fun and didn't even think I was working, didn't think we were on the job site because we were just spending time together. So now it's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah. No, when I was single with Cypress when he was 2, and it was just me and him, the darkest times of my life, but it was just me and him. I was taking him to the job sites, feeding him in the truck, fall asleep in the truck. I'd have to sit there for an hour and a half in a parking lot until I can go to the next job site to check on the guys. But it was just so fun. I mean, it was, like I said, the darkest times, but there was just so much bonding time taking him to work with me. Because I don't think it's kind of hard to think about because he was there for me when we're going through a tough time, but it was also like 6 months to where his mom didn't get to see him at all. And so sometimes I think about what she was going through mentally because I made the decision to, have that happen. So yeah, like you were saying, a lot of things just constantly weigh on your heart and they'll never go away.
Nope.
And then someday I'm going to have that talk with him, about, the decision I made, which, I'm not sure if I talked to you about that, but the day I made the decision, and the first night that it was just me and him, I started writing, it's called Dear Cypress. And it's just kind of like the day-to-day memoir of me and him together. And now it's like weekly, and now it's kind of shimmering down to each month, what happened this month. Yeah. But I heavily documented the shit out of that time and go back and reminisce, and it's hard. Yeah. But he'll have clear transparency of why I did what I did. Yeah. Because, there's a broken home or there's a broken home. Yeah. So,
well, and
didn't want you
even
to be
now,
in a broken home.
It's not that I want my son to think that this is how things are supposed to work. You know what I mean? I don't want him to think that this is how his future relationship should be. Yeah. But also, I want him to know that this is still okay the way that it is. We still have found success in it, and we still are going to live rich, healthy, beautiful lives because his mom and I and her husband have essentially made an effort to make things work.
Yeah. That's hard, man. And the more they see that, that's fucking powerful. And me and my ex are still working on that. We're getting there. She holds on to a lot of things. But and I have a new partner that he calls mom too, which rubs her the wrong way, but he looks at her as a mom and she acts like a mom, and it is what it is, you know.
That is the contention
She's
point for me,
dated,
man.
but
That's so I have not had a real serious relationship since his birth. I mean, I've had women that I thought might have been in that position, but it just didn't work out. And so my son's mom has never really known a woman in his life other than her. And so in our parenting plan, it had said, hey, no one's supposed to call anyone other than mom or dad besides biological mom and dad. And
yeah, well, ours says that too, but he does it and I can't stop him.
I get it.
So.
And so that has been something that has come up recently, and it was a contention point. And I, again, I want to be very honoring about how I speak about this, because really at the end of the day, what I care about the most is my son's success, not either one of ours comfort or pride or any of that other stuff. I work very, very hard. Not like it's hard too, but I try to be very intentional about how I speak about her husband as well. I am appreciative of what he's done. I am appreciative of the way that he loves my son's mom, the way that he loves my son, the way that he shows that in that life. But I am his dad, and I take a lot of pride in that role. And so he is a stepdad, and he has done amazing things for my kid, and I'm forever grateful for it. But my son never needed that. And I think him and I had a pretty cool conversation one day where he asked a couple of questions about, hey, where did mom and you break up at, or like what happened, or who is he to me? And so and again, in certain situations where one parent is absent, it makes more sense, and I understand. But it was something that I take a lot of pride in. I love being his dad, and I didn't choose 50-50. You know what I mean? Like, so I shouldn't have to share that title at all. And so that's something that I've had to work through too, because, at 10 years old, when he comes back and says, hey, I think I want to call him that may be something I just have to be okay with. I think now at 5, I think there may be some hopes that he would call him that from the other side, just for cohesiveness. Yeah. And
at that age, they're planting. It's planting.
I got to be careful. I don't want to say that. I don't want to speak to that, but I do.
Oh yeah, no, I say that. I'm just saying that.
But again, I think, he's got a little sister on that side who calls him that, who calls him dad. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's like some solidarity you want to feel, and, not calling him this when your little sister calls him that. And again, it's a product of a broken home. It's just another consequence of something that stinks that we shouldn't have had to experience.
Yeah, that we're going to experience. Being a stepdad, I came into Zeta's life when she was 8, and she never called me dad. And when she got older, we had to talk, me and her, and I go, look, Zeta, I'm never here to replace your dad. I'm here to be a good male role model. So whatever you need, I'm here. And so, long story real short, never really got to know her dad until the divorce, because she put a DVPO on me to not see her daughter, but her daughter had a DVPO on her to not see her anymore that her dad put. So when my DVPO got dropped, because it was all retaliation, I contacted her dad and go, yo, we have these 2 kids. I want to keep them together. How do you feel? And he hit me back. He's like, let's meet at the park. Met that day. Fuck, we're like best friends since then.
That's cool, bro. That's so cool.
And Zeta's still heavily in my life. She comes over all the time, has a bedroom here, 19, University of Hawaii. Zeller money every other week just to help her out with college. I bought her first car. Hit her dad up like, hey, would it rub you the wrong way if I bought her first car? He goes, no, you're going to save me money. I'm like,
that's so
all
cool.
Right.
Like, I want to take a moment and give you your flowers for that, because what could be such a friction moment and friction relationship, like two men who are just like publicly loving their kids for their kids' benefit is awesome. Dude, like I just want you to know I applaud it, man. I'm proud of that.
I appreciate that. When we went to Greece for 2 weeks, the longest I've ever been away from Cy, his sister stayed here to watch him. But when she had to work, she left him with her dad.
That's crazy, bro.
And he would take him around and take him to like his parents' house.
Wow.
And I was just thinking like, this is your ex also kid.
Yeah.
And his wife's cool with it too. And yeah, we just said, you know, we got to put everything aside. Like, and we have dinner twice a month. We value the time. We don't got to bring the kids because we save probably $150.
Sure.
You know, because she always brings her boyfriend too, which we have to pay for. But no, we plan on having our podcast soon. It's going to be very, like I said, it's very dark.
Oh yeah.
Like both of us, what we had to go through with mental health. A lot of things.
That's cool, man. That's so cool.
But yeah, as far as, you know, I don't know, but I know, you know, I haven't had another man in Cypress's life yet. She's dated 2 guys, come and go. And if she does it again, I'll probably, you know, talk to her and say, hey, we need to slow it down.
Yeah.
Let's make sure the next guy you introduce to Cypress, he's around, because he comes back and he's like, I haven't seen blah, blah, blah for a long time. I'm like, God damn it. I don't want a revolving door around my son.
I get it.
So that's a tough talk that I'm about to have in the future if things don't pan out, if she can settle down with a good man. And I'll have that talk with him like, yo, just be a good dude, you know, just good dude. That's all I need for my son. Yeah. And if there's any problems in your house, please call me. Please call me.
I do wish the relationship I had with her husband was better. Honestly, he kind of just stays out of it. He lets us handle things, which I also appreciate. I think that that's a level of respect that he shows as well.
Boundaries.
And so like her and I just pretty much figure things out, and he comes to things. He's present for his games. Like he's there for all of it. And it may just not be in the cards for us because it's working the way that it is. And that's totally okay too. But you know, hearing you guys participate in that is cool. And I hope that other men are encouraged by that, by saying, hey, like this is a dude who's actively looking to put his pride and like awkwardness to the side so that like our kids can have success.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's just comfortable. Yeah. You know, the kids just think it's inside starting to ask questions like, Zeta, why don't you want to see our mom? And, you know, it's not my position to tell that story, but I told Zeta, you know, let him get a little older and then you can share the story, but I will kind of want to be there because it's
direct that a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, you and your son have a saying that you guys say.
Yeah.
You have a couple sayings.
We do.
What are those? I love that because me and Cypress have sayings too before bed and every morning.
Yeah, there's a lot of affirmations that we do that I want him to, like just instill in him. So one of the things we say is, no person, no place, no thing that can ever keep my dad from getting to me. And so if he's ever scared or if he's ever worried or he's anxious about something going on, I'll say that, or I'll start to say it and he'll repeat it back to me. And I want him to know genuinely, dog, like I would run through a brick wall to get to you. And so no matter where you are, what you're going through, like you are so loved and you are so protected, bro. And I would rip the world apart to get to you. So we say that.
Oh, yeah.
We also say things like,
I love that.
We are contributors before we're consumers. We don't show up empty handed. I want him to understand that the world is all about taking. And we don't want to be like the world. We want to be in a place where we bring value somewhere, whether it's emotional value, spiritual value, physical value. We want to show up and be the person that people go, oh, great, they're here. Or, oh, I can breathe easier because Caleb is here, because Cohen is here. We say all sorts of stuff, man. I just want him to go ahead.
One thing I love, if we say it,
we do it.
We do it.
Yeah. It's so funny because he uses that on me all the time. He's like, Dad, you said this morning at 6 a.m. when I asked if we could stop by Walmart, maybe look at those things, you said it and we should. And so like, we'll have to turn around. I'll turn around in my driveway to drive back to Walmart just to look at something because we said we would. But that has instilled
Doesn't
in
mean
him.
we're buying it.
Absolutely. But bro, it has instilled in him such a firm commitment to his word. And like, that's so powerful, dude, in a world where we're watching men just crumble because they can't stand for what they say. Like even our politics right now are just so gross because there's all of this deception on one side versus the other side. And he said this and we're promising this, but like, man, as men, if we don't have our word, we have nothing. So I'm constantly telling him, I'm like, brother, if we make a promise, as hard as it is to satisfy that promise, bro, we said it. So we do it.
Absolutely. I want to talk about your dad as a grandpa now. I know there's just something watching my dad as a grandpa now. Like, you know, he does things differently,
man,
now for his grandson,
man,
than he did for me.
Yeah.
And I love it. At first I was like, man, am I feeling jealousy? But then he always tells me, he just looks at me, he's like, let me be a grandpa. I'm like, do it. You love it. Cause he's a single dad, or a single man. My dad's just wine collector and loves to be a grandpa. Has your dad changed since becoming a grandfather?
It's odd, man. When your parents suddenly become grandparents, it's so different because they have been the authority in your life forever. And now they're not. Now you are the authority. And so like there's this weird power struggle that I don't think means to happen, but sometimes they will like assert themselves in situations where you're like, hey, this is not your kid. You know what I mean? Like, so there was a little bit of friction early and being like, hey, Dad, we're not going to do this. Or like before you buy. So one thing that my dad did a lot for me was that he would buy gifts for me that were older than I was. You know what I mean? Like I got like a dirt bike really early, or like there were just things that like I think tried to grow me up a little bit faster. And so my dad's love language is gift giving. And so he likes to give my son things. And so he doesn't realize that the parenting I'm doing, and again, like this isn't a shot at my dad, but my dad was the breadwinner. So a lot of the parenting came from my mom during the day. But as a single parent, it's me all day, every day. I am the mom and the dad and the cook and the cleaner and the income producer and the bath giver, diaper changer. Like I'm all of those things. And so I'm also very intentional about what my son consumes, what he watches, what he eats, where he goes. And so like if you hand my son a popsicle, I'm like, brother, hey man, I love that you want to give him nice things, but he's not your son. Like there's got to be a level of respect here where you go, hey, Caleb, would it be all right if I did this? Now, not every single meticulous detail, but now we're kind of to a point now where he goes, hey, I was thinking about purchasing this. And I'll go, no. But we're at least to a place now where we can have a little bit of conversation and leeway beforehand where I'll go, I appreciate the gesture. Let's wait on this one. Like maybe look at something different because I know that's how he loves my son and my son loves him. He loves his papa. And, I love the joy that my son brings my dad. And I love the joy that my dad brings my son. I really do.
Yeah. Have you forgiven your dad?
Yes. But it did change our relationship. When that happened, when I was 18, it was almost as if we went from father, son to peers, like to two men that knew each other. And I don't want that to be dishonoring to our relationship now because I do love my dad and I do appreciate what my dad does for me. He's done so many things for me. I'm forever grateful for it. But that wounded our relationship in a way where it just shifted things. And I don't know if he'll ever fully ever go back to there. I still have respect for my father. I still give him respect. But that did shift our relationship when that happened.
Yeah. No, I definitely, forgiveness is tough. So, yeah,
And it's not a one-time
always,
thing. Like it's something you got to labor through constantly because you think you deal with some stuff and all of a sudden it comes up, or you have a conversation that remembers something, or, you get out of your own emotions and you're like, man, I'm going to be mad about this again. So it's not something you can just decide to like deal with and handle one day and then just walk away from it. You got to be constantly working on it.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Man, brother, this has been an awesome conversation. Ready for some rapid fire?
Yeah. Hit me.
All right, man. Favorite father-son memory?
Oh man. Gosh.
Most recent.
I think our last football game, he, he's so special and he loves to win and he loves his team and he loves to compete. And the very last game we had of the season, we had like a doubleheader and it came down to the very last play. And we ran this Statue of Liberty with 5-year-olds that somehow ended up having my son run like a 50-yard touchdown score to tie and then threw a game-winning pass to win it. And I just was so proud of my dog. And he celebrated with his team. And it was just like, dude, like as a dad, seeing your boy ball out was like the greatest thing ever.
I love how you call your son my dog.
Oh, he is, bro. This is my best friend, man.
Oh yeah, no, for real. People that I've seen posts, dad say your son's not your best friend. I'm like, damn, yes he is.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I don't know who your son is, but my son's my best fucking friend.
Right.
So them motherfuckers see me cry more than anybody.
Real,
so yeah,
real,
he's my best friend. He's kept me. He's
so
kept
good
me alive,
too, bro. Because like that's what I think. One thing that I missed out on having with my dad is that as men, we have a hero complex for our kids. We want our kids to think we're the hero. But like hero work isn't done in flying around. It's what you do in the day to day where you remind your kids, hey, I am a broken man. I'm going to mess up. And so I'm going to frequently apologize. And I'm going to go down to your level and I'm going to tell you I was wrong. I'm going to tell you that's not the way we're supposed to respond to certain things. And like that's where our kids heal. That's where they get a chance to like really experience authentic fatherhood. It's not us pretending that, we're perfect and we're never going to mess up, because inevitably when we do, all we've done is set them up for failure.
Yeah. And what you just said, get on their level. Every time I apologize, I'm on my knee. And every time I'm coaching to the kids in the circle, I'm on my knee. You got to be eye level with these kids. They shouldn't be looking up at you. You need to get on your knee and talk to them at their level.
Dude, and
so
kids sports is so cool, dude. There's a video on my Instagram of like they mic'd me up for a game. And so my son gets his flag pulled. I told him to run one way. He ran the opposite. And I was like, hey man, why are we running that way? And it's like, I can hear his voice kind of whimper. And so I squat down to my knees and, hey, what's going on? And so I take his mouthpiece out and he's beginning to cry. And like, we forget how much raw emotion these kids have and how little time they've had to learn to regulate it, how little time they've had to make sense of life, how much they want to perform for us to like make us proud. And there's so much pressure on them. And I just remember being in that moment like, hey, brother, take a deep breath. We're okay. It's not that big a deal. You're killing it. Get back out there. Keep killing it. And I put the mouthpiece back in and he went. But man, like the weight that these kids carry, like we gotta be unburdening our kids. We gotta be taking things off instead of putting things on.
Yeah, no more trauma dumping. Parents trauma dump way too much.
Yes.
What's something Cohen says that melts you?
He's learned recently to be very appreciative and grateful. And we had this party Saturday night at my house, and I had rented these 2 water slides and bounce houses. And all of our friends were coming over. I was cooking burgers. He was running around. He had his shirt off and he was just living his best life. And there were kids everywhere. It was just like the most beautiful sight. And he came up to me and he hugged me. He was like, hey, Dad, I love all of this. Thank you for all of this. And I was like, dude, I will give you you understand? I will lasso the moon right now, bro. So like his appreciation for what efforts I'm making to give him that stuff. Oh, brother. Hit me like a bullet in the chest.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Coffee or energy drinks?
White Monsters till I die. All day, every day. I turn me inside out. It's every day.
The big buff guy with tattoos drinking White Monsters.
I am the typical stereotype, bro. Come on.
Steak or tacos?
Steak for sure.
What kind of steak?
New York strip, medium rare, with some blue cheese crumbles. Oh my gosh, bro.
All right. I'll go ribeye.
Okay.
I'm not a New York guy, just ribeyes, bone in.
Okay.
Yeah, got to be bone in.
Honestly, I eat nothing but ground beef all day, every day for this stupid meal prep anyway. So any kind of like well-prepared steak is a delicacy.
Man, when we got the half a cow, we're going to get our next cow in September. But we just went with the regular package. My buddy I do kettlebells with, his manager raises cattle up in the country.
Nice.
He's like, you want to get half a cow? I'm like, let's do it. And it came out to $6 a fucking pound for a bunch of cuts. Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah.
And it's good meat, but you get so much fucking ground beef. Bro. Yeah. Lena was just trying to find all these new recipes, like the what is it? It's like a taco bowl, but it's like with sweet potatoes, honey, cottage cheese, man.
Protein rich, all the things, but a lot of ground beef.
Yeah. So, but no, it's great. If Cohen's listening to this episode and he's 25, he finds this episode, that's my fucking dad. I'm going to listen to this. What's one thing you hope he knows? What's a few things you want him to hear?
Oh, man. Number one, that I loved you with everything that I had. And that the sacrifices I made were a privilege. The things I said no to were easy. Getting up and going to work was something I looked forward to so that I could provide for you. If you're 25 and you're watching this, I pray that you know Jesus as your Savior. I've done a lot of things in my life, but the greatest thing I ever did was having a relationship with the God of the universe. And I truly believe that at 35 years old, that's the best advice I can give you as a man. And the last thing, I didn't miss a second. I was at everything. I watched everything. I filmed everything. I coached when I could coach. I cheered when I could cheer. And I never, ever gave up a chance to miss any of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's one thing your younger self needed to hear?
You were not the reason that your parents got a divorce. That happened long before you ever even thought about it being your fault.
Absolutely. Yeah, release that, brother. Really release that. Yeah. Finish this sentence. A dope dad is
willing. I tell guys all the time, the greatest thing you bring to fatherhood is willingness, because you are probably going to be ill-equipped. You're probably going to mess up. There's probably going to be circumstances and situations you didn't prepare for, but a willing heart will figure out all of those things. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, whatever it costs, a willing heart will figure out fatherhood.
Love that. Have not got that answer, and I love that. Tell me about founder of ManDays.
ManDays is a men's outreach program that drives on two core factors: community and accountability. Men will do better when they are shown better. A lot of men came from circumstances and situations that shaped their worldview, shaped their conflict resolution, shaped their idea of money, of relationships. And until someone comes along and shows them a better way to do it, that's how they will operate. So the idea behind ManDays is that we curate this room where men could come from all different walks of life, all different income thresholds, physical differences, black, white, tall, short, you name it, and sit in a room and have dinner together to realize that their problems were not as unique as they thought they were, that every man in that room wanted to be a better dad, wanted to be a better husband, wanted to make more money, wanted to be more present for the people in his life. And so we have guest speakers come in that equip them with different resources and information, financial literacy, business and technology, family law, how to navigate custody in the court situations, fitness and nutrition, how to be the best version of your physical wellness. ManDays is the hope that I take the men that live in my community and I send them home to be more emotionally regulated, more educated, and more willing to be encouraged to take a significant role in their lives as men.
Hell yeah. I love that. Just in your community right now, plan to expand?
Yeah, we've got guys driving a couple hours for all of our events. And so I know we're making impacts in other parts of Missouri right now, but we're getting to a place where we're trying to develop it, not necessarily as a franchise, but with an operations manual that if a guy said, hey, I want to launch this group in Kansas City or in St. Louis, like, can you send me kind of your outline guidebook that could create other chapters like this in other cities?
Nice. Well, man, Caleb, I celebrate your honesty today because I think a lot of men are carrying things that you discussed, from childhood wounds to court to divorce. And I think you sharing your story is going to help out, some men that listen to this. And I appreciate you sharing your story today, man.
It's cool, bro. I'm proud of what you're doing. You're providing a platform for men to like hear what other men are maybe afraid to talk about. And so like, may our vulnerability publicly help someone heal privately.
Absolutely. Well, shit. We'll do this again, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, brother.
This is the first, because once your son gets a little older, we need updates.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll stay in touch for sure.
All right, brother.
Cool. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for listening to That Dope Dad. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation on our socials at ThatDopeDad_podcast on Instagram, or email Michael directly at contact@thatdopedad.com.